Well, here we are live on a Thursday night, the 28th of May. Joe Chaffee and Joe Rayo on the always popular, usually on time Joe and Joe Weather Show. Which are we brought to you by anything tonight?
Um, yeah, we have an ad that runs right before President Trump wants you to take the official socialism approval poll.
Oh
Uh,
well, you know what? I have no control over that. That just comes on. So, considering how nice the weather has been this week, it was a pretty miserable day here. I had about maybe about half an hour around midday where it brightened up and the sun even poked through the clouds. And also this morning when I went out about 7:30 or so, the sun was I could see the sun through the low clouds, but that was it. The rest of the time it was gray. And we had some showers here. We had some showers early this morning. We had some go by about an hour or so ago. And yeah, a little bit different today because of that big upper low to the west and all this tropical moisture that's been drawn up the east coast. And of course, some of that was Bertha. That went way to our west. It went into Ohio and Pennsylvania. And now we've got a cold front with severe weather maybe for later tomorrow and tomorrow night.
well, as we were speculating yesterday, the National Weather Service, well, actually, the Storm Prediction Center of NOAA, have indicated they went from marginal now to a slight chance in parts of the Northeast. It's noticeably north and west of the immediate New York City area. And I think that they're thinking that places near and along the shore may get a thunderstorm, but it may not be a severe thunderstorm as opposed to places inland,
Right.
which even has a slight risk in the technical discussion of maybe an isolated tornado or two in one or two spots, but just a
They did nudge the severe area a little bit further to the east. They pushed the slight risk into western New Jersey. They pushed the marginal risk almost to about New York City on their afternoon update. I still am not overly enthused by this cold front, although I think there's probably a better chance of severe weather. Now, I'll get it. It will always wind up being in reverse. If I say it's going to be in upstate New York, it'll be over here. If I say it'll be over here, it'll be in upstate New York. So I'm
isn't that
gonna
how it always is?
right. So I'm gonna go with the way things are setting up, and because the upper trough is more to the north this time around than digging all the way south, I'm gonna say that there's probably a better chance for stronger storms in upstate New York as opposed to downstate and then down the coast. That's just my guess.
We'll see where it all ends up, Joe. You're absolutely right. There have been times when we had anticipated, let's say, central and southern Jersey and the severe weather area, and what happened? Places like Albany and Schenectady and Poughkeepsie get rammed or hit. So we'll see how this all pans out. But one thing I think that we both will agree on that once we get past noontime on Saturday, most of this schmutz, if you will be pretty well pushed out to our east. Drier air, less humid air will be building in, skies will be clearing, and pretty much from the second half of Saturday through the rest of Saturday night and Sunday, pretty nice weather and then some rather coolish weather to kick off the month of June.
Yeah, especially Sunday and Monday, particularly Monday, not getting much out of the 60s. And Sunday will be nice, upper 60s and low 70s. So it's all good. I'm just trying to I want to put this camera in a place where that light I have to do something about this light that's behind me. It just shines upon me. See it?
Oh, I see. Well, I see when it's like
So
right
either
now.
I got to move as far away from it as I can.
Well, it's like an eclipse. You're the
Right.
moon. The light is the sun, and every now and then you move off, and the sun comes back out.
Yeah, but if I get too close to it, it just kind of, you know. It lets you think, and rightfully so, of the halo that is around my head. All right, so let's get going tonight. We've got there's not really a lot going on. Uh, just looking at the watches and warnings tonight across the U.S., it's really mostly about heat in California and in Arizona, where they got a whole slew of excessive heat warnings. More inland, they got heat advisories up and down the coastal areas from San Francisco southward, not quite to L.A., and also north of San Francisco, kind of cuts inland. We got this fairly large area, though, of excessive heat warnings in Arizona and into southern New Mexico. We've just got one working severe thunderstorm watch right now in parts of South Texas. Other than that, it's just like a scattering of a flood, a flood advisory here, a flash flood watch there, and that's about it. For all the nonsense with that upper low, as big and sprawling as it is, it's really not doing very much. I mean, here's on the loop. I mean, it's really just kind of taking all this moisture and it's basically strung out all over the place. You can't even find what's left of Bertha now because that's moved up into Canada. You got these, severe weather breaking out through parts of Texas. You can see the blow up there this evening. There's also some storms blowing up across the Gulf states and over Florida and points northward into parts of the southeast. So other than that, um, not too much happening, at least up our way, Joe. A lot of clouds. You see them here. A few bands of showers have been going by, and that's about it.
Right. And look at those blow-ups, especially across Texas and across the Southland. You can see all the blow-off cirrus cloudiness that is being pushed northward by those
Right.
southerly winds.
And here's how it looks on the radar, by the way, as of, let me give it a refresh here. And we'll zoom in on Florida and Texas. So you can see this some pretty interesting cells across central Florida there this evening. We also have some showing up offshore of the Florida Panhandle. You've got some big cells developing across southern Louisiana, and then you have the stuff in Texas where you've got the severe thunderstorm watch up, and that area is now moving southeast. Looks like a big thunderstorm just about arriving in San Antonio, and you've got a line of some showers and a few storms from Missouri northeastward up into the Great Lakes. And of course, if you look carefully here in the Northeast, you can sort of pick out some of these popcorn showers. John, there's this line of thunderstorms in central Pennsylvania. It's just this narrow line. Where did this come from? Look
Could
at it.
that have anything associated with? Because I think the remnants, if you could still draw some kind of a center of Bertha, is probably in the northwest corner of Pennsylvania right now.
Well, let's see what WPC did. They have a low analyzed actually near Buffalo with a trailing weak cold front that runs from there down into northern Virginia. I don't know how they decided that there's a cold front there, considering the fact that it's in the low 70s ahead of it, it's in the mid 70s behind it. The dew points are in the upper 60s ahead of it. The dew points are in the upper 60s behind it. So why would you draw a cold front there?
Because there's a snaky line of showers and
I mean,
storms.
seriously, there's a southeast wind. There are light southeast winds from Pennsylvania to New Jersey. The winds on the other side of that front are southwest. Why would you put a cold front there? Okay, WPC, you need to correct this on the 21Z map, which might be out. Let's see if they did. Or are they going to leave this in continuity? Oh, so now they have the cold front dying.
Hatched or
It's
whatever.
undergoing frontalysis,
Okay.
which is not to be confused with a hair procedure. But yeah, now they got this front. There's no front there. I mean, for God's sake, it's 81 at one station on the west side of the front, and it's 80 on the other side. Stop it. Just stop it. Okay, so again, now you got this southerly flow.
You know, if you look at the 500, there's
Yeah,
there's an ever so slight little bulge that
yeah.
extends southeastward.
That's probably whatever's left of the whatever upper feature that was driving with Bertha. That's moved on
Right.
up. If you want to say that the low that represents Bertha's over Buffalo, yeah, I don't have a particular problem with that. But when you look at the radar, unlike earlier today when there was a ball of rain in Ohio and into western Pennsylvania, it's pretty much gone now. I mean, there's just a couple of scattered showers left across northern parts of Lake Ontario and on the Canadian side. But that's a cute little line of storms that suddenly fired up through central PA. Doesn't look like it's moving very fast to the east either. So my guess is it'll probably just fall apart. And meanwhile, you still have a lot of scattered stuff. The upper low that's out to the west is going to be weakening, but you still see an identifiable feature here in eastern Arkansas, southern Missouri, all the cells that are up in northern Missouri are dropping southward, and all the cells out in the Ohio Valley are all moving from south to north.
Actually, the HRRR does have some semblance of that line on the very latest. That's the 22Z HRRR. They have a kind of a thin, broken line of showers with an embedded thunderstorm over central Pennsylvania. So I guess that's the model's attempt at trying to depict whatever this is that's out there.
Right.
But if you move things forward, it kind of just sits there and then kind of just washes out by the time we get to 10Z or 6 o'clock in the morning tomorrow. So you're thinking that maybe this is going to come on through our area, because generally a line of storms in that part of Pennsylvania usually is about 4 hours away, but it doesn't indicate that on the HRRR at least.
All right. Well, let's go to. I'm getting. Hold on, Joe. I'm getting that annoying audio again in my ear. Double audio. I don't know where that's coming from. All right. So I'll just.
And the 3 kilometer NAM also has the same thing, just sitting there and then just dying in the coming hours. So.
All right. Okay, so let's go to SPC and take a look at the what they're seeing as far as risk today is. They've got the slight risk down in Texas, marginal risk, which justifies those storms in central PA, because they look like, even though that line is rather thin, there are some strong cells in there, and SPC does have a marginal risk for severe weather. Now, here's tomorrow's risk zone, and they added the slight risk this morning, and it looks like they nudged it a little bit further east to slight risk into northwest Jersey, and the marginal risk now to about New York City into western Connecticut, and it extends down into Virginia and North Carolina on the marginal risk, and as far west as Ohio. Another small area of marginal risk in Wyoming and parts of southern Montana. Now, I want to just look at the next day, because earlier they actually had. Now they do have, Joe, a leftover. They got this line of general storms from Maine down along the immediate coast. This is from 12Z Saturday to 12Z Sunday. I'm thinking that's probably just left over from overnight into early morning, in case the front just decides at the last minute to slow down slightly. I'm not. I covered for the possibility that there could be, because we got that sort of dew point line that comes through during the day Saturday in the upper trough, that there might be an isolated shower or two or a thunderstorm somewhere that pops up ahead of that dry line, ahead of the upper trough. But I think the chances of it are pretty low. The main focus, I think, is going to be for tomorrow.
Yeah, I think that the NAM, and I'm told by some that the RPM model, the Futurecast, as you see it on your TV stations, sometimes works off of the NAM. The NAM has been a little slower and a little bit more dynamic in keeping showers and possible storms in here until early afternoon on Saturday. But the GFS and the other models, the GFS and the Canadian. And the European models are saying pretty much that once we get past 8 or 9 in the morning, we're done with shower activity. I think the best thing to do is just split the difference and say, all right, look for some showers in the morning, look for some clearing in the afternoon, a drop in the dew point temperatures, less humid in the afternoon. It's a 50-50 kind of day, and it may actually be better than 50-50 if you're looking to do some outdoor activity on Saturday. And the nicest day of the lot of the 2 days this weekend will be, in all likelihood, Sunday.
So you look at the NAM. One of the things, Joe, for tomorrow, it's not really. It really isn't overly bullish with the development of whatever storms it does show. I mean, it looks like it shows more in upstate New York, downstate into Pennsylvania. There's one what looks like a little bit of a segmented line that's in eastern PA and up into the Catskills, but that just starts to fall apart once you get past, say, 9 or 10 o'clock tomorrow night. And then the front by Saturday morning's just kind of hanging on the coast. It doesn't really do very much. It looks like it's just sort of waiting here. By Sunday evening, if you look at the isobars on the NAM, the front, from the way I see it, the way the isobars are is right about here. This is Saturday evening. So it almost takes the entire day for the whole front to roll on through.
Right.
Like I agree with you. There might be some, like as you describe it, schmutz um, for for Saturday early, and then Sunday a little bit on the maybe a little on the breezy side. Sunday, that nice cool high comes down, and it's going to take a couple of days for that high to play on through. So that means our air is going to be pretty good. I just want to take a look at the 700 millibar, which is a level that I usually like to look at to take a look at the NAM is picking up on any uh, jet streaks with the upper trough. But if you take a look here, folks, as soon as it loads, it's taking its sweet time tonight. Come
Well,
on,
lots of people on the internet tonight, Joe.
I guess.
It's Thursday.
Yeah. Okay.
You know, I
So
always used to say when we worked together,
yeah,
so happy it's Thursday.
exactly. So I've just backed up the NAM uh, to Tuesday night. This is the what represents Bertha, and of course you've got this upper low that dropped down into Oklahoma and then cut off. So if you follow this along, I'm going to roll it through, and I'll leave the circles up there so you can see. You know that little brown burst there is what was Bertha, and then that lifts up, and now we're into Thursday afternoon, and here's a little kink in the upper air, little short wave there that's moving along, and now of course tomorrow you've got some of that. There's a lead piece here that is moving across the eastern lakes and into western New York. If you look at the profile here tomorrow night, there's a couple of jet streaks here, but we're not seeing anything crazy. At least from what I can. I'll get a little closer. See where some of the stronger jet streaks that I'm seeing are in western New York, northern New York, and up in northern New England. There's a few little bursts here, but nothing exceptional. So I think if I was going to bet this, I would probably bet that the stronger storms are going to be north, and well deserved because the temperatures have been in the low and middle 90s the last couple of days in parts of upstate New York and in northern New England. I think they might have been a shade lower than that today, but it's still been it's still unusual. Was unusually warm. So they're ripe. Here we're dealing with a bit of a marine layer that's involved, so we'll have to wait and see how it all plays. And then of course, this the, the main part of the upper trough really doesn't come through here until later Saturday night, and this is bringing down that cool air from Canada.
Talk about cool air. 12Z Monday morning, 8 a.m. Monday morning on most of the models, indicating that the thickness line of 540 is going to be practically on top of the tri-state area. That's the line we usually use to delineate whether or not we're going to have rain or wet snow. And it's kind of weird to be talking about a 540 line, Joe, on the first day of June, but that's what we're looking at for the start of next week.
And speaking of the first day of June, that is Monday, with a nice high in the east. Not a whole lot of weather going on for Monday. A few showers up in the middle Mississippi Valley, a few showers up in Northern California, Southern Oregon, and going into Tuesday, looks like some sort of front comes through here on Wednesday that comes down from the northwest. The isobar, the high goes out off the North Carolina coast, and we get into a westerly flow here on Wednesday ahead of a cold front. I'm just wondering whether that might be the one day we could warm up, rather nicely after the high goes out, and then that front goes by, and we've got a chance for showers and storms if you believe the GFS for Thursday as the front sinks southward, and then you've got a high coming down from the north with some cooler air. Looks like you're getting these cool shots, these dribbles, these cold fronts coming through. It's hard to see how. Now we just saw, at least in northern New England, how hot the last few days being hot, but that doesn't look like it's going to repeat anytime soon.
No, and in fact, as we mentioned yesterday, I think it was Tim Veltman who brought it up. 97 yesterday in Montreal, and after the show last night, I went online to look at the Montreal Gazette, and they were talking about the mayor of Montreal opening cooling centers throughout the city, in spite of the fact that they're locked down with coronavirus situation. That still the heat was, I guess, driving everybody crazy up there in Le Plume.
I wonder what is their all-time record high up there. I'm not really too familiar with their numbers.
I'm not sure either. But the 97 they had yesterday broke the record for them for yesterday. That's 36 Celsius. They also pointed out that on the same date in 1969, the high temperature did not get above zero. Would you believe
Wait,
that?
say that again on the same date. What?
On the same day,
Yeah,
yesterday,
yeah.
which was what, May 27th, in 1969, the high temperature in Montreal did not go above zero.
0 Fahrenheit?
No, 0 Celsius.
Okay, I thought
I'm sorry.
so.
Sorry. Oh,
Okay, now.
sorry.
Yeah, no, I was like, whoa, hold on there.
Well,
Okay.
that's still a pretty big spread from 32 one year to 97 on another year.
Oh, no question. But you're
You
going.
realize we are the only country, and I do mean the only country in the world that are still on the Fahrenheit scale. We made an attempt back in the 70s, I think, to try to gradually convert everybody over to Celsius, but that just didn't work. It worked in Canada, but it didn't work down here.
No, they weren't having it. I guess to tell somebody that the temperature is up to 40 degrees in the summertime,
Right,
which translates to the psychological part of this is the fact that you've come to equate heat with 90 or 100.
right,
100 being very superheat. So if you suddenly went to a scale where you're talking about 35 to 40,
right.
I don't know. It's one of those things that somebody's going to have to decide to just do it and just let it. Once the next generation once one generation passes, and then the next round of young people get a hold of it, it wouldn't be a problem. It's like
Those outdoor, those outdoor.
if we just go to Greenwich Mean Time, Universal Time, all over the place.
If you
Um,
go to those, I remember back in the 70s, you looked at those outdoor thermometers, like let's say, well, for example, I mean, when you go over the Willis Avenue Bridge, you could look across and you see that big sign. It used to be,
the old Cadillac billboard.
right. So then you see the time and the temperature would flip from, 50, and then it would suddenly flip to 10
Right.
for Celsius. But you don't see that anymore. Now they just gave up on Celsius. And when you see the time and the temperature, it's just one temperature. It's not, they don't even flip to Celsius
Yeah.
anymore.
By the way, I'm just looking at the highs today across northern New England and upstate New York. The clouds held the numbers back. It was mostly upper 70s and low 80s. Now, if you go up into Maine, you start to get northern Maine today. It was quite hot. Temperatures up in the lower 90s, 94 in at the Seboyas River near Shin Pond. Okay, and 95 in at Estcourt Station, and Frenchville Northern Aroostook Regional Airport. Okay, was 90 today in northernmost Maine. That's like
So,
way up, almost on the northern tip. And on
right.
the Canadian side, Quebec City was 94. Uh, Cap Tormente was 90 along the St. Lawrence River. I don't know if I don't have an ob here from Montreal. Les 2K was 90. 79 Parc de Laurentide. Excuse my pronunciation. I'm trying here. I don't see Montreal in this mix.
And what is that
So
95? That 95 all the way in northern Maine, or
yes, that is Estcourt Station. So just to give equal time, let's go. Let's go down to California and Arizona and take a look at what the numbers are this afternoon. Hang on. I see 109 somewhere. To wait for the numbers to plot. Round and round it goes. Ooh, we got a 113, Joe, in Needles. I've been to Needles.
wow?
I've been to Needle. I am proud to say I was once in Needles, California. 113 Lake Havasu City Airport. 109. I wonder if is there actually a Lake Havasu?
I don't know.
Well, there's a
We can look it up
city. I
on
don't know, is there a
look on
lake?
Look on Wikipedia maybe.
Daggett Barstow Airport, 109. 109 in Dunn. 111 Ford Dry Lake. Rice Valley was 111. Buttercup. Buttercup, California was 100. I don't know if it's on the California or Arizona side, but
That
it
was
was 110.
Alice Cramden's pet name for Ralph.
Right,
Little
exactly.
Buttercup.
Little Buttercup.
And of course, you remember Norton said, "Hey, you once a little cup of butter, now you're a tub of lard."
Correct. And of course, there was the poem that Fred Flintstone wrote to Wilma: "You really are a peach, my dear. Together we're a
Now we're a
pair."
pair.
Mesquite, Mesquite was 109. Las Vegas was 108. So look, you get the idea here, folks. Very hot, and even into going up to San Francisco. Where is it? I'm trying. Oh, here it is, San Francisco. Uh, they didn't report the last hour, but Concord Buchanan Field, which is inland, was 97. But but even along the coast, someplace called Bend Lomond, which is down coastwise from San Francisco, was at 86, and you had some low hundreds once you get further south toward San Luis Obispo. Cooled off a little bit down, at least along the coast. Santa Barbara 67, Oxnard 75, and Los Angeles 82. So they got heat there in that corner in the northeast, up in Maine. They have heat, and it should all start to come to an end as the pattern changes. Now, I want to just take a real quick look at the late tropics. We're still keeping an eye here, folks, on this system in the eastern Pacific. Because that is going to develop and drift northward, and we're still trying to see, what's going to happen when all that whole gyre, that big spiral that's going to be moving into over Central America, and whether that winds up triggering some kind of tropical development. We've seen the GFS at least, and to a certain extent also the Canadian model keeps insisting on trying to do something, although it has been it's been backing off quite a bit. But here's the latest run, and let's just take a look. I'm just going to back it. Let's just back it off a little bit, and you can see the low starts to form on Sunday. It drifts northward, but it never really pushes all the way in, which is what the prior runs were doing, and now kind of keeps it further south, more on the Pacific side. Later on in the forecast period, late next week, you start to see some of that trying to come out into the Gulf of Mexico again. We'll see if that winds up being real or not. The fact that remains, though, that pressures are still going to continue to be below normal across the Gulf, the lower Gulf, the Caribbean, and down through Central America. So when you have a condition like that, that usually uh, allows for tropical, something tropical to come out of there.
Right. I know our weather chat group, composed of all of the former meteorologists, on-camera meteorologists at FiOS News. We've been actively talking about this area and wondering whether or not it's really going to come to pass, whether or not it's really going to be true. I mean, we're talking about 8, 10, 12 days or more in advance, but you think we have a shot that this is actually going to be the case, that we'll see something wind up in the Gulf of Mexico in the
Yeah.
coming days ahead?
Listen, you've had two things spin up in the last 10 days on the Atlantic side. I think
Yeah.
I think it's telling you that the upper atmosphere is, how shall we say, ripe, uh, where this might be one of those years where a May system, gives a foreshadow of the season that's coming up. You've got the La Nina there, and that is a big player. And usually means the Atlantic side is going to be very active. Your ocean water temperatures are running a little bit above normal, which is a plus as well. I mean, there's a few other things going on in the upper atmosphere, which leads me to think that yeah, maybe this may wind up being a rather busy year. And whenever I see pressures being low down in the Caribbean and the Gulf of Mexico, that's a kicker too as far as trying to get something to form. Daniel Kirby asked this question: has there ever been a hurricane that formed on the Pacific side and then come back onto the on the Atlantic side? It actually has happened a couple of times where we've had systems on the Pacific side cross over and then redevelop on the Atlantic side. I can't remember. I think it's happened one or two times in the last 10 years. But if you want me to tell you specifically which storm it is, I don't know off the top of my head. But it does happen on occasion. And the
I
chair.
remember
Okay,
I remember a
go
storm that
ahead.
was in the I remember a storm that was in the Atlantic basin that crossed over into the Pacific, and I'm
Oh,
not
that
sure.
happens. That happens more often.
Right, I remember the name. I'm not sure if it was the Atlantic or Pacific name was Joan. Um,
That
and if
sounds like it might have been the Pacific name.
and of course, you end up with this this occasional situation where as it crosses over and it transitions from one body of water to the other, the name on the list is female and may go over to male or vice versa, which opens up a whole new can.
Yes, it does. Scott Briller also pointing out, by the way, the chairman telling us that Montreal's all-time high is 100 in August of 1975.
I'll bet you maybe Scott has the actual date. I will bet anything that August 1975, that date was my birthday, August 2nd. In the year 1975 was a Saturday. It goes down in the New England weather annals as Hot Saturday because records fell left and right, even up at Mount Washington. So I'll bet you that 100 in Montreal was probably August 2nd, 1975. And if he has that date in hand, I'll be interested in knowing what the date was. I don't know why, Joe. Sometimes certain days and certain events just stay in your memory or stay in your. And the only thing I makes me remember it, I guess, is the fact that I turned 19 years old on that day. So
Okay, my memory's gone to Jello. So let's do a little Briller Jeopardy, and then we'll call it a night. Okay, so the category today is temperature. What was the warmest overnight Central Park low?
the highest low temperature.
Yes.
I've known many a night in growing up in the Bronx where I used to watch Alan Casper, for example, and it was still like 90 at 11 o'clock. So I wouldn't think it was going to be. I would say 86. How's that?
Okay, so you're half right. So at LaGuardia, it was 86 on July 22nd, 2011. On that same day, it was 84 at Central Park. So I'll give you get credit for that.
Oh, thank you.
When was the last time Central Park hit 100?
It's been a while, hasn't it?
It sure
Um,
has.
20. I'm trying to remember. I think it was something like 2011 or 2012.
Close. 2013. 2012.
20.
2012. July 18th, 2012.
I remember that. You know why I remember that was I believe that White Plains Westchester County Airport hit 100 about the same time, and we had a hellacious. Why is it always this way? You get extreme heat, and there was like a hellacious fire in the White Plains area,
Oh,
and
yeah.
these poor guys, these fire guys, had to actually fight that in that extreme heat.
Not
Yeah,
fun.
but it's been a while since we actually hit the century mark in the immediate tri-state area.
And the highest and lowest ever recorded on the 4th of July.
The highest temperature, I'm sure it had to be 1966. It had to be something like 100, 100 and 104. Is that Central Park?
Yeah, July 4th. The record high is 102.
And that was what year?
1949.
49.
Right. And the
So
rec.
that means that so that means that that means that in 1966 when it was 107, I think, at LaGuardia. That
But
was
that
in.
wasn't on the 4th of July.
Yeah.
It wasn't 107 on 106, 107 on the 4th of July. It was later
What,
in the month of July.
what was the? Oh, later. Oh, I thought you said what was the highest and lowest temperature on the 4th of July, but it's the highest and lowest temperature in July.
No, no, no. The question is the highest and lowest temperature on the 4th of July, July 4th, not the
Right.
highest temperature for the month of July. If it was the
No, I'm not, no, Joe. I'm saying is that July 4th, 1966 at LaGuardia, they
mhm.
hit 107. So you would think that Central Park would be only a few degrees off of
No,
that.
they were 102. Well,
One,
maybe they had the jet exhaust going on the thermometer just like they do now. I don't just well now with fewer air. That'd be an interesting thing to look at. By the way, with the air traffic down at LaGuardia, at all airports. But I just I wonder whether the error, the temperature, if there's a temperature impact by a degree or two.
and you're talking now about the lowest temperature on the 4th of July.
Right, the lowest temperature was
52.
double nickels in 1986.
Wow. Oh yeah, remember 1986 was the what were we celebrating in 86? The Statue of Liberty. That
You
was the
remember when Charlemagne crossed the crossed the Mediterranean and put his stake down over at
that was the year that we
Constantinople.
celebrated. You remember? I remember in '84 when I got married and we were going on our cruise to Bermuda. We passed the Statue of Liberty. You couldn't see it because it was covered in scaffolding. They said, "Oh, in a couple of years, it's going to be brand new, almost as good as new, whatever." They took the scaffolding down, and I think 4th of July, Independence Day, 1986, they celebrated the new Statue of Liberty with fireworks and everything else. And I remember it was a cool night that night. Everybody was waiting for President Reagan to shut up so they could see the fireworks
God.
because he stepped up and he gave like a 15-minute speech, like people saying, "Enough already, let's go."
Oh Lord. All right, look, let's call it a night. It's 7:38. By the way, folks, if you watch, if you hung on this long, the radars are dated. So if you're watching this on a replay, make sure you go to weather.gov for the latest weather information regarding severe weather. So what you maybe saw earlier on, that was from about 7:15 p.m. Eastern time. So just bear that in mind. We'll be here tomorrow night to cover the severe weather, but I didn't tell you this beforehand because I didn't get a chance. No show this weekend for Sunday. Going to take Sunday off.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
A family event?
yeah. I'm going to go up to Connecticut to go see one of my children. So
Oh, lovely.
yes, so I just figured I was going to go just for the day tomorrow for the day on Saturday. I said, you know what? I'll make it a weekend.
Well,
So
by the way, if you have a chance, put up on the chat board. We were talking about this a couple of nights ago. The attack of the giant ants.
okay, hang on one second.
This is suspense.
I don't want a copyright violation here, so let's see. Okay.
Joe. It's on YouTube. There's like multi versions of this on YouTube.
I know, but they get touchy about these things. All right, hang on. Oh,
And
you sent the email? Did you sent the link on an email? It's not on the chat board.
right,
It's not on Messenger. All right, let me get the. Hold on a second.
right, because every time I try to send you something on Messenger, you can never post it.
Yeah, it gets Facebook puts all its code on it, so it just makes it a pain in the neck to handle. So hang on one second, and I will bring it up.
That was my brother-in-law, by the way.
Ah, here it is.
This was a show that was very popular on radio, old time radio, back in the 40s, 50s. And when old time radio ended on CBS in 1962, this was one of the last shows to go. Suspense. And it's
Eventually, there would
about
be more fish than
a
water
guy
for
with a
them to swim
plantation
in.
in South America.
The rabbit is
He's being
public enemy
warned
number
about
one in
these
Australia
giant
because there is no
thumb-sized
indigenous
ants that are heading in his direction, and the methodology that he uses to try to prevent the ants from attacking. And the guy who plays the key role in this is the guy who played Cannon, and later on played
Oh, William Conrad.
Jake and the Fat Man. And yeah, William Conrad. And Joe, few people know this. Rocky and his friends, or Rocky and Bullwinkle,
Right.
the
That's
narrator.
William Conrad,
Right.
the
Well,
voiceover it.
be sure to tune in for Rocky.
Exactly. So anyway, I'm. Can you hear this?
Predator with a craving
Can
for
you hear it?
Hasselpfeffer.
I'm
The
not.
law of the jungle is implacable,
Wait a
and
minute.
when it is broken,
I don't hear
when
anything.
nature's balance is upset,
All right, I hear it in
man had
my
better head for
headsets.
the
You know what?
hills. In a moment,
I don't have. I have a. I have to figure out how to route that audio. And so once I do that, I'll hold on to it and we'll play it for another day.
You're right.
Suspense. All right, so that's let's call it a night. Everybody have a great night and stay safe. We'll be here tomorrow night. We'll cover the severe weather. Going to take the weekend off, and then we'll be back on Monday. So tune in tomorrow, same bat time, same